Hi folks, this is Bea Harper from Supermaster.com, and today I'm going to make a very special video. As we all know, The Force Awakens opens in 2 days' time. Well, 3 days' time, depending on where you are. But the fact of the matter is, folks, this is Star Wars, and this is going to be huge. And as you've probably already seen on Supermaster.com, we've got a bit of a Star Wars theme going for very good reason. So why am I making this video? Well, for one thing, I wanted to talk about Star Wars on my own without any sort of pressure from anybody, as in Christopher McGuinness. I mean, seriously, Chris, dude, you are way too hardcore, okay? You need to take it back a bit, you need to take a chill pill, you need to drink a brandy, and I'm kidding. But seriously, folks, when I think of Star Wars, here's the thing. I am not a hugely rabid fan of it. I don't, list my religion as Star Wars. I don't cosplay. I don't think I've ever had any of the action figures. I obviously have the DVDs as well as the Blu-rays, but what matters to me in terms of Star Wars is this. As wonderful as the films are, as glorious and interesting and compelling as the stories can be, and as wonderful as the characters can be, what really matters to me in regards to this series is how I have perceived it. When it comes to art, it is all subjective. Whether it be a movie or a book, a comic, a piece of art that you see, if it affects you on an intellectual sort of level, that's when you know something is super effective. And don't get me wrong, Star Wars isn't the only cornerstone that I base my own sort of personality on. No, I've got quite a few of them, but I'm not going to go into those. Because partly, I think you probably will be disgusted, and two, there's only so many minutes in the day I can talk about it. So, without further ado, here are my very raw and very arguably addle-brained thoughts on how this series has affected me, Beatrix Harper, personally. So here we go. Here's the thing about me. I have a very curious nature. I want answers. I need to ask questions. I need to see how things work. You can't just say something to me and say that's how it is. I need to know why. I need evidence. I need something in front of me. I need to know for certain as to whether or not something is true, false, or ambiguous. And that is what Star Wars does to me. Given the fact it has an expanded universe and all this rich and varied world building, Star Wars is more than just like showing you what's outside. It is also very adept at showing you what is inside. When it comes to the original trilogy, and look, I'm not going to harangue the prequels. For one thing, everybody's done it, and quite frankly, you don't need to hear it from me. But with the original trilogy, it was like this. Despite it all, despite the majesty and the pageantry and the adventurous swashbuckling, Star Wars was a very personal story. It was personal in particular for Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is perhaps the perfect avatar of how we are. We start our lives naive, innocent, not having much of an idea about how the world truly works. And it is not until we get older and we gain more life experience in which we realize we are so much more than what we think ourselves to be. But by the same token, we need something, well rather we need to empower ourselves to unlock our potential. We need experience. We need to have something happen to us to affect us on a very sort of profound level. And without something like that, you are not a whole person. Human nature is about being inquisitive. We are a very curious and exploratory race. And even though we are prone to bouts of evil and selfishness, we are also prone to greatness. And some of you out there may say that, going to the moon is no big deal. Well, back in the day, going to the moon was a huge deal. And before that, it was thought pretty much impossible. And given the way science has expanded our knowledge of the world and of each other, having that that drive to know, that drive to uncover mysteries. That is what makes us human. And that's what Star Wars does. It starts out as very insular and very contained, and then by the end of the original trilogy, it has become way bigger than anybody anticipated. I bet back in the day, before the internet, before, information leaks, people didn't know what to expect when it came to a Star Wars movie. And after the first one came out, people were so taken aback by this. They never even thought this sort of thing possible. And by the time Return of the Jedi rolled around, everybody's awareness of the series and of the characters had expanded well beyond they would have originally thought. And the entire films pretty much represent this notion. We start out as little, and then we become bigger. We become bigger through each other, through wisdom, through the world. It's quite incredible, really. That is what evolution does to you. But first, you need to have the desire to do so. I mean, granted, I guess you can go through life not wanting to know the way the world works. You could stay in your room and just sit there and not want to experience the highs, the lows, the tragedies, the triumphs. But that would be denying yourself of the ultimate adventure. And once again, it comes back to this idea that Star Wars is more than just laser battles and awesome dogfights and aliens and, cute little teddy bears. It is a psychological thing. It is human psychology put on the big screen with lightsabers. That is what I love about it. So what else can I say about this wonderful series? Well, for one thing, as a woman, Princess Leia is the bomb. And you can say whatever you like about Carrie Fisher. And look, if you say anything wrong about Carrie Fisher, there's something seriously wrong with you. That woman is a boss-ass bitch. And chances are, she's worked on the movies that you probably love and you didn't even think about it. But I digress. Princess Leia is a paradigm shift of how women, in science fiction in particular, were portrayed on the big screen. In the back when days, women were seen as the damsels in distress or the demonic temptresses. They weren't given a truly proactive role. Princess Leia helped change that. She wasn't the first one, but she was one of the mainstream examples of how women can be on the big screen. They are more than being ornamental. They are people first and foremost. They just happen to have a different brain chemistry to you. Well, when I say that, when it comes to male and female characters on the big screen, most of the heroic roles, I should say, go to the men. And the women are kind of sidelined or the cast in those stereotypical characters. Princess Leia defied that. Yes, she is a princess and she is royalty, and yes, she does get into the trouble. But the thing is, she is proactive. She isn't content to, sit back and let the heroes come and rescue her. No. I mean, look in Return of the Jedi, when she is the one who kills Jabba the Hutt. Princess Leia is very petite, okay? She's dressed in her slave girl costume, and, and she's in a traditionally, very disempowered role, but she takes her power back in quite the most literal way. The way she tugs on the chain against Jabba the Hutt's neck, you can see the fury, the anger, the power coming out of this, admittedly very small woman. And, it is one of the best scenes in the movie. You believe it because, she commits herself to it. And also the fact, Jabba the Hutt is a fat fuck. But the fact of the matter is, Princess Leia is awesome. She helped trailblaze. She helped revolutionize how female characters can be portrayed in movies. And look, the stereotype still hasn't faded away, but now we have that option thanks to her. So, bearing that in mind, there is so much more to talk about when it comes to Star Wars. And please don't think the topics I've covered here are the only things I think about this movie. No. Star Wars is revolutionary. It's revolutionary to the mind, the body, and the soul. And when it comes to visual media is so powerful, and that is what helps make Star Wars that more impactful. If Star Wars were like regulated to a book or something, you'd only have like this select, portion of an audience. But when something is put on the big screen for major public consumption, that is when people realize it becomes something en masse. It becomes something enormous. It is way bigger than so many of us could have possibly anticipated. And look, you can say whatever you want about George Lucas, and quite frankly, I'm probably not going to disagree with you, but he helped usher in this notion that there is so much more out there, and there is so much more to learn about the world we live in, and the worlds that we have yet to see. So guys, I'm going to be there when The Force Awakens. Are you? See you later guys, and thank you once again for listening to me ramble, and as usual, I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.